Welcome. I'm Reena Agarwal, Robert E. McDonough Professor of Finance and Director of the Georgetown Psaros Center for Financial Markets and Policy, based here in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. The Psaros Center for Financial Markets and Policy is the preeminent destination providing unbiased expertise at the intersection of finance and policy. By driving solutions-oriented discussions, conducting research on key global market issues, and engaging our students. We are excited to have some of our Georgetown students interview our distinguished fellows to learn more about their very successful public service careers and their involvement with the Psaros Center. We are today pleased to welcome Patrick McHenry to the Psaros Center as a distinguished fellow. The recording of these interviews will be available on the Psaros Center's website and also our YouTube channel. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Patrick McHenry, former Congressman and Chair of the House Financial Services Committee. I'm going to hand it over to one of our fantastic Psaros Fin Policy scholars, Siona Mondell. Siona is an undergraduate student here at Georgetown's College of Arts and Sciences. She's going to introduce herself, but I should mention, Siona is one of our Fin Policy scholars, and she participated in the Psaros Center's inaugural Fin Policy Trek. With that, Siona, on to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Agarwal. Like Dr. Agarwal said, my name is Siona. I'm a junior in the college studying political economy. And Congressman McHenry, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. You were in Congress for 20 years. Would you give a little background on your career in public service at the highest levels and what made you choose a career in public service to begin with?
Siona, thank you. And like you, I was interested in both politics, policy, and the interplay of those items with the economy. And I was drawn in at an early age in high school to following politics very closely, campaigns and elections. And I saw governance and governing as a way to effectively listen to the people and respond to the economic needs and social needs across the country. And so I was drawn to politics to create the type of change that I was seeking as a means to that end. And so that's what got me involved in my first election, volunteering for a candidate. It's what led me to run for public office the first time when I ran for state house. Won the primary, but lost the general election. And in losing, you learn a lot more than in winning. That was my most formative election and gave me the deepest insight for who I am as a leader and my faults and failures in particular. You really look at that more deeply. But I got elected to Congress as the youngest member of the first two Congresses I served in. And that is being the baby of the House is an honor, and an honor that you want to grow out of and don't want to maintain for very long. And you also don't want to act like the baby in the House. But then I spent my full 20 years in the House of Representatives on the Financial Services Committee. Most of my interest in policy is around financial services policy. And that is what has led me through every Congress trying to make an impact in law and regulation and to have some better outcome in economic growth and make sure that we maintain American dynamism. So that's, I think, at a very high level, my 20 years, or actually almost 35 years of being involved in the political process.
What you said about losing, teaching you more than winning really resonates with me. Post-Congress, what compelled you to join the Psaros Center as a distinguished fellow?
The Psaros Center is unique. It doesn't have a deep ideological bent about the best way forward for our financial markets. It has a higher view than day-to-day politics or the passage of a law or the passage of a regulation. It wants to look at the overall health of the markets, and whether or not our financial markets and the policies surrounding our financial markets maintain the United States as the global leader in the deployment and use of capital, and making sure that we are drawing in global capital to the United States. And so in that way, it is such a broad focus, with such such level of intentionality around bipartisan dialogue around the health of those markets. And that to me is such a welcome thing in Washington, and a welcome thing from the 20 years of day-to-day grind and grime of politics on Capitol Hill. So it's nice to engage in the policy and still be deeply engaged in policies that affect our financial markets, but to do it at a higher level around really the broader health of our financial marketplace.
And sort of touching on that, how do you see the global landscape, specifically with respect to innovation and technology in regards to the US, China, and other parts of the world?
Well, it's a fantastic question, and we see this week over week on the development of AI, the deployment of digital assets and cryptocurrency in new ways, the movement of software across the real economy, across our financial markets. And there's a massive amount of change that's happening in the private sector, which is driving federal and governmental regulation to change. We also see enormous competition from rising players globally, and a deep interest in the characteristics of our financial markets, which is rule of law, speech rights connected with financial contracts, knowing that you have a safe and sound system to deploy that capital, and legal rights around that. The rest of the globe wants to have what we have. And you have serious players that are doing their dead level best to get components of what we have for their domestic markets. We see this with the rise of nationalism across individual countries around the globe. And we see that with the use of this technology and regulation and being in certain markets being more advanced than the United States. Take, for instance, digital assets. This is a perfect example of Japan, Singapore, Abu Dhabi, and Europe, frankly, being more advanced in regulating crypto and giving legal rights and understanding around crypto than in the United States. So we have competition, and many areas we're way ahead. In other areas like crypto, we are catching up to global competitors. So it makes it a fantastic time, Siona, for you to engage in this policy set. And also a fantastic time to be in the debate around our financial markets.
I was going to say a lot of what you're touching on are discussions I'm having in class with fellow students. It's like what we're talking about over lunch. Like that's what's interesting to people like me right now. So sort of touching on that, a large part of the Psaros Center mission is engaging with students. What's one thing about you that you would like students to know?
I'm a late bloomer. I'm a late bloomer. I am a policy nerd, and each year I try to get better than I was year before. But I came to Congress without an MBA or a graduate degree. But my work in financial policy and my deep focus on that policy set was my graduate school. So I think what I want to convey to students is it's not just the classroom piece. It's that conversation you just mentioned at the lunch table. It's learning from your peers, asking what they're reading it yourself, coming to your own conclusion around a piece of policy. Not just having an ideological lens on that, but seeing if it's rational, if it's the right way to approach it, and then testing that. And that's the fun part, is the iteration. In the iteration, you can continue to have long after you're done with college, but your education continues. I think that's the key piece, is to be constantly improving and constantly learning And that's what wakes me up. It helps wake me up in the morning and gets me excited about the days and weeks ahead.
And sort of looking back on your career in government, what's one thing that you're going to miss?
Um, one of my friends who left Congress a number of years ago said it this way: "I don't miss the circus, but I sure do miss the clowns." Um, I've got a lot of great relationships and friendships on both sides of the aisle on Capitol Hill and across Washington policymakers. I'm going to miss that day-to-day grind. That's number one. Number two, being hitched in more to something big. And being in service to my constituents in Western North Carolina, to be in service to North Carolina, but in service to our federal government and our purpose as a country, and trying to improve that. That's its own gift. To be hitched to something big like that, I'll miss that. I'll miss that, and I'll always want to influence policy in some way and be in the debate in some way. And the Psaros Center is a perfect place for me to be engaged in, um, because it enables that debate, yes, but also enables me to test some of these things with students like you, and folks that do have spent a lot of time having deeply contemplative views. And to have that discussion, that debate is just fun. It is its own reward. So I'm trying to fill that engagement, and the Psaros Center is certainly a big component of how I intend to do that.
And so you sort of touched on this, but now looking to the future, what are you most looking forward to doing over the next year?
A little more balance in my life. I came to Congress a week after my 29th birthday, served for 20 years. My time was used to the maximum. To have a little more balance would be nice. Number one. Number two, to be removed from that day to day, to give an opinion about every breaking news story every day becomes exhausting. And to be relieved of that obligation to opine about whatever the latest thing is in politics that has people excited or aggravated or angry, to be able to separate myself from that is a gift. Is truly a gift.
Hopefully, the Psaros Center can help bring you some of that balance. What sort of projects would you like to work on as part of your involvement with the Psaros Center?
The use of AI and the use of digital assets, the confluence of those two things. When we have demos around AI agents being able to do a whole set of things that we do for ourselves on a daily basis, from booking a flight or a train ticket, to send an AI agent out to do those things for you and book the flight for you. Um, we're right on the edge of. I mean, this is quite possible. And if you marry that with digital assets, the ability for us to use internet money to do things on the internet using AI has its own set of options and potential new, relief of our time and obligations on our time, yes. Enhancing productivity, yes. Um, uh, but new challenges, new regulatory challenges, new legal challenges. And to be in that discussion, I think is meaningful, especially where we are right now in human evolution and where we are in the technology evolution.
Well, Congressman McHenry, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. This has been a really great conversation, at least for me. And I think I can say on behalf of all of us in the center that we are incredibly excited and honored to have you join. Thank you.